The version of Captain Marvel that hit theaters was clipped down and polished up, missing a handful of scenes you'll wish you got to see on a 50-foot screen. Here's a look at all the scenes that didn't make it to theaters. While she's still living on Hala and going by Veers, Carol pays the Supreme Intelligence a visit and sees it as Mar-Vell, aka Dr. Wendy Lawson, the Kree scientist with whom Carol worked in the US Air Force. Yang-Rog accompanies her to the meeting, but the finished film doesn't show him having his own encounter with the AI overlord. Since the Supreme Intelligence appears to its guest as the person they most admire, when Yang-Rog meets with it, he naturally sees the spitting image of himself.
We both know your admiration is mostly reserved for yourself.
The Supreme Intelligence chastises Yang-Rog for the failures of his mission 6 years prior, from killing Mar-Vell to not retrieving the energy core she built, and leaving Carol alive as a supercharged liability. The usually cocky Yang-Rog is shaken and begs the Supreme Intelligence to allow him to kill Carol to make up for his mistakes, a proposition the AI denies.
Bring us the core and the girl. Alive, Yang-Rog.
Of all the film's deleted scenes, this is the one that co-directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck have said they wished made it to theaters the most. Speaking to Cinema Blend, Boden said, "I think the scene where Jude visits his Supreme Intelligence is really fun. Jude Law is playing both characters and being both brutal and vulnerable in the same space." One deleted sequence features Yang-Rog lecturing a group of young Starforce hopefuls about the Kree Empire's mission to protect itself from the shape-shifting Skrulls. Yang-Rog teases the recruits about potentially being shapeshifters themselves before turning his attention to Veers, calling her the best example of Kree potential. Veers then enters the room and shares her own disdain for the Skrulls.
The commander's right about the Skrulls. They took everything from me. My home, my family, my memory.
She also calls attention to the implant in her neck, which she still wholeheartedly believes is a good thing and the source of her powers.
Our leader, the Supreme Intelligence, saved me, gave me purpose, and this implant, so I can fight back.
Early on in Captain Marvel, the members of Starforce fly to Torfa, a planet on the border of the Kree Empire, to locate and rescue the missing Kree spy Solar. The expedition ends up a total failure when the Skrulls successfully snatch up Veers as part of a trap. Before things go south, the movie was meant to include some lighthearted banter to send the Starforce gang off on a happy note. One deleted scene shows Veers joking around with Minerva, Korath, and Atlas, who tease her about a previous mission to which she brought a little too much heat with her photon-blasting fists.
That was not my fault. We were specifically told to bring the heat.
It was very hot.
Minerva, calling her by the name of Twinkle Fists, gives her a sarcastic piece of advice. Think with your head, not with your hands. The fun momentarily stops when Yang-Rog arrives and reminds them of the task at hand, bring Solar home to Hala safely. Ron Char manages to sneak in one last quip as the Starforce team is loading into their containment vessels.
Does anyone else get claustrophobic in these things?
In an extended version of Carol's interaction with the man on the motorcycle, things get kicked up a notch after he asks her for a smile. First of all, we learn that Veers isn't the only character in the scene with a weird name.
I'm Veers.
People call me the Dawn.
Instead of a grin, Carol asks if he's up for a handshake. He obliges, but she uses her fiery fist to burn his hand, leaving him helpless in her alien grip.
Here's a proposition for you. You're gonna give me your jacket, your helmet, and your motorcycle, and in return, I'm gonna let you keep your hand.
The scene may have been cut for making our heroine appear a little bit too much like Marvel's own Terminator, which may have been an intentional reference considering the shared 90s setting. As the now in pain Dawn hands Carol his keys, she places a sassy cherry on top of their conversation.
What, no smile?
Ben Mendelsohn gives a chameleonic performance as Skrull leader Talos. While audiences still think Talos is a villain, he shapeshifts to disguise himself as Keller, the 90s-era director of S.H.I.E.L.D. What follows is a cat-and-mouse game between Talos, Carol, and Nick Fury. One scene that got snipped from this plot shows Keller attempting to track down the quad jet Carol and Nick stole from the Air Force Academy.
So you're telling me you can't track your own plane?
Since the plane has anti-radar tech, there's no way for Talos to immediately locate it, which means he's further away from discovering the truth about Carol, Wendy Lawson, and the location of his family. But when another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent hands Talos some intel on the crash site in Maria Lambeau, his chances of cracking the whole thing wide open greatly improve. Speaking of Talos, another Captain Marvel scene you didn't get to see reveals what happened to the real S.H.I.E.L.D. director after the green-skinned Skrull stole his look. It would have played out right after Talos' Keller said goodbye to his fallen Skrull comrade, the one who Nick Fury killed while he was impersonating Phil Coulson. Things end there in the theatrical cut, but the deleted scene keeps going, making sure it's clear to everybody that there's some shape-shifting going on. Out in the hallway, the true Agent Coulson passes by Nick Fury and offers to be his partner in the ongoing investigation. Fury rejects him.
Here's the police report you asked for. Need a partner?
Not now, Rook.
Trying to prove himself useful, Coulson jumps at the chance to help Keller get into his office, not knowing it's actually Talos, who forgot to grab Keller's ID card when he first took his form. Who's the rookie now? Coulson happily swipes his keycard through the scanner on the wall, granting Talos access to the real Keller's office. There we see the S.H.I.E.L.D. director on the floor, bound and unconscious, and watch as Talos grabs Keller's badge from underneath his jacket. Unlike some of the other sequences, it makes sense why this scene was cut. The only people it would play as a reveal to would be viewers just getting back from the bathroom. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about the MCU are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.